Hey, good morning and welcome to Friday Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, wrapping up the week here on the Front Range, the final live show from here, and then later in the day, later this afternoon, I'll be headed to the airport. I dread it now. I mean, that's 4 hours plus of mask wearing. But except when I'm eating or drinking, I still have never really figured that part out, right? You know, but anyway, Omicron or whatever it's called is here right now. Now we're finding out, apparently it's been here for a while. So, and then by a while, you know, several weeks, and the travel ban to all those African countries, all for naught. You know, that was, again, another dog and pony show. See, we're doing something. They already knew. They knew it was here. But so far, I want to say, I don't know what the new number is. Last I saw, we had like 10 cases. The majority of them in New York. 9 out of 10. And again, close enough. I'm not, you know, if I can believe what's out there. 9 out of 10 were fully vaxxed. So that just, again, it ruins the whole narrative on the whole vax thing, but I digress. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com. Gold was down yesterday. It's up today. The Dow was up yesterday. It's down today. We had jobs, the government jobs numbers today. They're expecting around 550,000 jobs created. We got 210. So a big miss. Obviously, this is a November number. I'm shocked by that one, Jason. I mean, it's November, holidays. Everybody and their mother needs people. And again, not anywhere close to what they thought, but really, I think the issue just is everyone's just got to get over it. Right? $10 isn't enough. $12 isn't enough. $15 isn't enough. $18 isn't enough. And I love it. I keep reading, I can't get anyone to show up for their job, or they quit right as 5 hours in, they just quit. Yeah, well, because where does it at? 30?
And being masked and vaxxed might put that number up higher. You know, if people don't want to, a lot of these businesses are saying, if you're not vaxxed, I can't hire you. That's part of the qualifications now.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even really give that a thought, but you're probably right. I mean, you're already just saying, hey, there's a 30%, give or take, of the workforce. Hey, I can't hire you.
Yep.
And I just saw some other government. It was Medicare and Medicaid. They've dropped the vax requirement.
Oh, well, that's nice of them.
Yeah, because somebody actually told them, hey, wait a minute, sir. Excuse me, sir. Can someone tell the president that Medicare and Medicaid will stop functioning if he does this? I mean, I'm just saying. Maybe someone woke him up from his nap. Gave him a Jell-O pudding pop, and he went out there and said it's going to be okay. I don't know.
I saw a meme that said Ozzy Osbourne is more coherent than Joe Biden.
We should have Ozzy should be like the next Federal Reserve president. Because and the reason is because no one can understand anything he's saying.
There'd have to be a translator.
Yeah. Oh, man, I don't even know where I want to go right now. Oh, how about this? Another country all of a sudden buying gold. What is going on? Everybody's getting ready. Ireland. Yeah, Ireland. And we're hearing from these countries that, quite honestly, have never been gold buyers before. And all of a sudden, they're just coming out of the woodwork. Who was it? Was it Thailand or Singapore? I can't remember the other, right, that came out. And
Poland.
And they didn't even make an announcement. They just, on their currency reserves, they let it be known. People didn't find out. They let everyone know they bought gold 6 months ago, but no one actually figured it out. Ireland back into the gold markets. Now, to be fair, Ireland did buy a couple of tons of gold, back in, I don't know, '08 or something like that. But they said, yep, we're going to keep upping our gold purchases. And Jason and I were talking about all of this and really, and how many times for years, be your own central bank, right? Be your own central bank. They're not doing this because they just woke up in one morning and said, let's buy gold. These central banks are in constant communication with each other. And I just think that this is part of this collapse. By the way, I will just tell you right now, we have a multitude of people saying this is the biggest stock bubble. They're coming out of the woodwork now, Jason, because now that we've retired transitory, okay, let's start telling people the truth. Insider selling, all-time record highs. It's incredible the amount of selling that's going on out there. Warren Buffett's right-hand man, Charlie Munger, hey, you thought the dot-com bubble was a bubble? Yeah, well, this thing is way bigger than that. I think, and Jason and I we both kind of think that all of these central banks are buying gold because as we get ready for the new digital currency, we don't know that gold will be involved in it, but they'll kind of tell people, hey, don't worry, we got a bunch of gold in the vault type of a situation. We're going to talk about that when we return. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. It was Singapore was the other one this week. So two more central banks this week buying gold and adding to their gold reserves, and we're watching the largest bubble ever, and you're like, well, how do you know? How do you know it's the largest bubble ever? And because when you look at the bubble, when we talk about a bubble, what is it, right? And it really is an overabundance of debt. I mean, that's really what it is, right? In other words, hey, because they've created so many dollars, and here for us it's dollars, right? In Europe it's euros, whatever it may be, because we've created so many of them, that all of a sudden you create a wealth effect, if you will, and people go out and spend, and you drive up demand, you have less supply, all of those things, and then all of a sudden things like inflation start happening, and so now the debt creation, you all of a sudden now have to start paying for it. So you're like Janet Yellen and Ben Bernanke and Jay Powell and even our elected officials. Oh, interest rates are, it's cheap. Trump, cheap. Let's borrow it up while it's cheap. It's getting ready to not be cheap anymore. And the whole thing comes crashing down. It happens all the time. That's how it happens. I mean, it happens over and over and over and over again. And again, they like to pretend they've got tools. Oh, we got a ton of stuff we can do. All of those things that they can do are all really the same tool with a different name, right? It's debt. I don't care if you use a pickaxe, a shovel, right? A backhoe, right? All of it, right, is just digging the hole deeper. Now, you can say, look at their hey, it's a different tool, right? I'm using a pick, now I'm using a shovel, now I'm using a backhoe. But all you're doing is digging the hole deeper. And that's exactly what's happening here with all of this debt. And Jason and I are like, you know what? We would love it. It'd be great, wouldn't it, Jason, if everyone was buying gold because they're all going to go with gold-backed currency.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would actually be great, because if you did that, we would never have to talk about inflation again.
That's right.
Right? We wouldn't have to talk about it. It wouldn't be a thing anymore. We wouldn't have to worry about reckless spending anymore. Because in order for you to spend it, you have to have the gold first. Right? You wouldn't have to worry about all of those things. But we don't think that's what's going to happen, because the bankers will never willingly give up that control. But we do think all of them are getting ready. They already know that. Here's the bad part. We're speculating on when the date is.
Right.
They already know. And again, and we sit here and we're talking about, gold's undervalued. Gold. Of course it is. Because these central banks need to be buying it. Right? And they're loading this up. And when we talk, a big purchase for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, for most people, $50,000, $20,000, $10,000, $100,000, those are big purchases.
Really big.
Big purchases. These central banks are buying them by the tons.
Yep.
When you think about what a metric ton is, 32,150 ounces, that would be a tiny purchase, right? 1 metric ton, right? But even one metric ton, you're looking at like almost $58 million for 1 metric ton. And we're talking about countries that are buying 20, 30, 50. How about Poland? 100 metric tons. I mean, these are massive purchases. They're going to be used for something. And I think, and it was Jason, we were talking about it this morning, he goes, I think they're going to use it as like the insurance, right? It's going to be the FDIC insurance, if you will, for the new money.
Yeah, I don't think they're confident that their system that they're moving us into is going to be successful. And if the world goes into economic chaos and they just say, well, we got gold backing up this new thing, and people are like, oh, that's not good enough, and it continues to spiral down, then they'll actually have to institute maybe some sort of a gold policy. So, Joe, the way these countries are buying gold, let's just say Ireland is 0.5% of global GDP. In this system that they're developing, for example, they'd have to have 0.5% of all the gold in this insurance-backed global digital money system that they may put into place. So that's what I see, Joe. The fact, because Joe keeps talking about how another country buying gold. It seems to me, Joe, that the biggest banks and the central banks and the governments of the world already own most of the gold. So it seems like they're kind of distributing in a nice way for this new global reset.
Yeah, and again, we're starting to. They know the time. And this is why I've been telling you.
They know the time.
Be very careful with your money in your bank. You got to have enough in there. Yeah. You don't want more than what you need. You can always put some back later. You don't want to be caught whenever this thing unravels. You don't want to be caught with more money than what you need in those bank accounts. Because, and again, I'll just go back because they did a test run. They did a test run during the financial crisis. That was a test.
Right.
And they tested it with Cyprus. They tested it with Greece. And just remember how it was going down in those countries. I think in Cyprus, was it 40%?
Yeah, that was a mess in Cyprus. They were dealing with Russian mafia money, and
right?
It got so bad.
It got so bad. But even in Greece, one day you woke up and your money was frozen.
Yep.
You couldn't go to the bank and say, you know what, give me my money.
The bank holiday.
Yeah. The bank was essentially closed for you. I mean, you could go into the bank and you could, if you wanted to, you could put money in it. You just couldn't take money out.
They must have retired the word emergency. Banking emergency.
Right. Yes.
Banking
That was retire that.
Banking holiday.
And then they were like, if you go to your ATM, you can have $20.
That's right. Yep.
Right. That was what was happening. And when you think about today, and you got a guy like Charlie Munger, he was at some conference this morning, and he talks about how wildly overvalued the markets are. And I know all of us want to pretend we don't want to think about it, but you know he's right. Just like the last time, listen, just like we all knew the housing market wasn't a subprime problem. We knew it. We talked about it all the time. This is the same thing. And again, when you're looking at some of these guys and he's talking about how it's the most overvalued market that he's ever seen, they're wildly overvalued in not every place. But in all the places where people have the money, right, that's where it's all wildly overvalued. It's worse than the dot-com bubble, railed against, him and Warren Buffett. They hate crypto. I wish that it had never been invented. Talked about how he admired the Chinese for banning it. And of course, that makes sense because, let's face it, Warren Buffett's made a lot of money, and so has Charlie Munger, on mistakes in debt. When they make the most of their money is the crashes.
That's right, all of them.
That's where they capitalize.
The crashing, that's why this is the way it's supposed to be. These boom and bust cycles have been going on for a long time. This is supposed to happen. This is how the big get bigger and the small get smaller.
And I just want to point out one of the other things that we look at are, what are the CFOs and the CEOs and all the C-suiters, if you will, right? What are they doing?
Getting ready to retire, I think.
Boy, it sure looks like that. And I say that because corporate insider selling is at the fastest rate ever. So we think about, wait a minute. Stocks are at all-time, they're off all-time, but they're right near all-time record highs. And these guys are bailing. They're saying, okay, it's one thing. Hey, I broke the record. Right? Think about like the 100 meters. It was 9.82, and you just ran 9.81. Right? I broke the record. No. That's not what we're talking about here. They have sold more stock so far this year. Think about this whole year. They've been selling. All-time record by 30%.
They're rewarding these guys, Joe, for doing the stuff they've done. Think about this. Right before coronavirus blew through here in 2019, we had the repo markets, and there were some signs that something was getting ready to happen. We had the record number of CEOs retiring in 2019. They just were leaving. But think about it. If in, let's just say, a 5-year period, things are really going to get bad, and you're going to have that 2020 crash, coronavirus, war, whatever. All your CEOs leave, but you got a lot of guys that have been helping you out. You got those junior CEOs. You got those. You give them, you build them up in 2020, 2021, and they get to cash in before the next one.
Yeah, and we're sitting here and you're talking about, I'm not talking about they're doing a little selling.
A lot. They're doing a lot.
They are selling like crazy. And I guarantee you a bunch of that money's ending up in gold.
Telling their employees to buy it.
That's right. That's how it always works. And so when you start to see these signs, so all of a sudden, just think about what we've seen in the last week. Jay Powell found religion, right? Okay. You caught me, right? Let's retire transitory, right? And we're probably going to, speed up taper. And again, remember I told you yesterday, they're hoping Omicron, like they hope on Monday that it's wildfire and all this stuff. So they can say, well, you know what? We're going to push it off, right? Kick the can down the road. But the insider, all these guys know, they're laughing. Laughing.
I was going to say that I imagine a room where Jerome Powell and some of the other bankers get private room, and then they're laughing, saying, did you actually just say that? And they're probably big laughing. Yeah, I had to say retired. I can't believe there's no other way. And they're probably laughing.
And here's the funny part. The speed by month is getting faster.
Yep.
So not only have they sold 30% more than ever, by the way, the previous record I want to say was like 2013 or something like that. But it's getting faster. November, the largest month of insider selling ever. Over $50 billion in a single month. Do the math. Right, you're talking about $500 billion plus. What is it? Of insiders, 600. If they did 50 billion a month, that'd be $600 billion of here. Give it to me.
And look how corrupt it is, Joe. The Dow was down 30% in 2020, April and March. And NDA came all roaring back just for this group of CEOs to grab their piece and leave. It's like right there in your face.
Well, and again. You think they're leaving because they think the stock market's going to go up another 30%?
Cashing in those
Heck,
chips.
no, they think it's going the other way. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jaquint, Jason Walker, and we're talking about, we had the miss on jobs. I'm not really too concerned about the jobs market. I think we've kind of settled back to where we're going to be, which is you're going to have the continual bitching from employers that they can't find help. And here's the reality. That's not true. Matter of fact, we had record numbers of people quitting jobs. Why? Because they got a better job. And here's the realities. What is a better job? It paid a lot more money. And I think this is why, when you hear Jay Powell retiring transitory, when you hear Charlie Munger, this is the most overvalued stock market. Let's face it, I don't know how old Charlie Munger is, 1,000. I mean, I think he's actually older than Buffett.
Right.
Okay. So this guy's been around for, 80, 90 years now. So most overvalued. It's the biggest bubble ever. And Jason and I have been telling you this. And listen, you don't need to have a college degree, a master's degree. You don't have to be some Nobel laureate economist. We've been running the same pattern for over 50 years now. Ever since we got off the gold standard completely. And just so people understand with Richard Nixon and what he did. The only people that were able to exchange dollars for gold were foreign governments. So the central bank created an issue, blamed it on gold, took the gold away from the citizenry, revalued it at $35. Right? So think about that. Gold was $20 when you went to bed. You woke up, it was $35.
Kind of feels like right now.
Right? Let me tell you, yeah, gold's about $20 right now, on its way to $35.
That's exactly
right?
what I see.
Yeah, right? Same thing. So think about what the foreign governments were saying. Wait a minute. Yesterday, I could only buy $20 worth of stuff. And at the time, we were China.
Yep.
Right? We were China. We ran huge budget surpluses as far as trade. Right? Trade surpluses were huge. People bought stuff from us. And so all of these governments, right, they said, heck, great. Here's a bunch of $20 gold pieces. Give me $35 worth of stuff. And by the time we got into World War II, the United States had over 20,000 tons of gold. Funny thing happened after World War II. About 10 years after World War II, all of these foreign governments that were buying treasury bonds, when they matured, right, then okay, I got to buy soybeans, and I got to buy corn, and I got to buy cotton. But they if they had anything left over. And what the government, what we wanted them to do is, well, just buy another treasury. They were like, you know what? I think I'll take some of that gold back.
Especially in the 60s, they were doing it.
Right, well, right. It started in the 50s, really ramped up in the 60s.
Oh, by a lot.
And you had a situation where the United States was now down to 8,000 metric tons. And that's when Richard Nixon closed the gold window and said, okay, you can't do that anymore. So think about all that gold they bought for $35, right? 12,000 metric tons of gold that they bought for $35. And now all of a sudden, today, all of these central banks are buying gold again.
Yep.
The thing is, it's not at $35, right? They're buying it at $1,700 and $1,800 and $1,900.
And then he also got rid of all the silver because you can't have a cheap, easy money system of silver, which would have been the natural thing to go to. You know, John F. Kennedy wanted to put us in silver, and Nixon, you know, all the storage of Morgan dollars. Well, these are collector's items, and they got rid of all of our strategic silver at the same time as gold changed that in 1971.
And so when we're looking at what the next steps are, so once they did that, all of a sudden, what have we seen? Remember, they call it whatever tool you want to call it. You know, I like to say, you know, first they started with the pickaxe, and I started adding to the debt, and then they're like, God, that's not enough. Let's get the shovel out. Right now, fast forward to today. I mean, we're like Parker Snobble and Tony Beach from Gold Rush. We got to find the biggest excavators we can find to dig this mountain of debt out of the ground, and we're sitting in this situation. We've seen it time and time again for 50 years now. Boy, well, whoops, way too much. Crash. Build it back up, crash. Build it back up, crash. Build it back up, crash. And every crash bigger than the last. Here's the problem now. Think about all the other crashes. I mean, even the financial crisis. The debt was like, what, 6 trillion, 7 trillion? Right? We're at 40 because I don't care if it's on the Fed's balance sheet or on the government, right? It's the same thing. It's still Treasury debt.
Yep.
We've got 40 trillion. This is so much bigger. Think about like the 87 crash. What was $1.6 trillion, you know, something like that. I mean, this is huge. And this is why Jason and I both think there's got to be a reset.
Absolutely.
Right? Because now it just got too big. And if you look at one of these guys brought in this chart for me about, you know, the national debt. And it was a very hairy figgy. Bankruptcy 1995, you know, it was the old hockey stick chart of debt. And dude, this is the longest hockey stick ever, right? and I think this is what's going to happen. We're going to have another event that's actually probably going to be, not probably, it's going to be worse than the Great Depression as far as what's going to happen. Now, unlike the Great Depression, right, we've got EBT cards and things like that, so you don't have the dramatic pictures and all that.
And you could say the inflation didn't happen during World War II because of World War II, Joe. I think massive inflation was coming after the Great Depression. World War II actually stopped the inflation that probably would have happened.
Well, it gave it an excuse, right? Gave it an excuse.
There's a place to put it.
Yeah.
There's a place to put it. Yep.
Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jaquint, Jason Walker. Jason and I were just talking during the break. Man, it has dried up. The gold and silver, physical gold and silver stocks have dried up so significantly. You know, what's so funny is Jason is there's a, I'll call him famous, a very well-known artist, for lack of a better word, that makes novelty coins, collectible type coins. Does real cool designs for people and things of that nature. And Jason, we're working on something pretty cool for the radio station. We're going to make we were hoping to make a radio station coin. You know, really kind of a cool thing, and make like a set of them and all that stuff. And he was telling Jason he cannot get any silver stock.
Yeah, no planchets.
Right, the
no
blank
blanks.
disc. He can't get the bars. The only thing he said, what did he tell you? The only thing he can get
You
right
get
now.
these bags of .999 silver beads. It's like kind of whatever the mines essentially bring into circulation, and I think that, I don't know how they turn into beads, but then you could take those and
It's
go.
like silver shot, if you will.
They're giving this guy the workload of, you melt these down into whatever shape you want. We're just going to stop doing that. We don't. Why should we make planchets and bars? You do that.
Yeah, we don't need to do that, is what they're saying. Hey, listen, we don't have time. We're making all we can for the mint, so we don't have time for you guys.
Yep.
And this is really what we're seeing all over in the marketplace today. Listen, I've got 50 Saints available today. They're going to be right now they're $2,095. Here's what I'm going to do. $2,075. I've got 50 Saint Gaudens, but that's it. That's all there is. There's nothing out there. I don't want to act like, hey, there's no gold out there. There is, for higher prices. Right? And so when we're looking here at the low end, and again, believe me, but you think Singapore and Ireland are the only ones? You think these insiders that just sold in a single month $50 billion worth of stock, you don't think they're putting in their gold away? You know they are. And again, I liken this back to that Great Depression type era, where overnight gold went from $20 to $35. Go to 71 when Nixon closed the gold window. By the time gold was done, it was, I think the first day trade was like $42. Well, we know where the rally finished, at 800.
Yep.
And we're seeing something, I think, very similar to that, because what was happening before gold went on that huge run? Central banks had been buying gold. Central banks have been buying gold now. Remember, I told you it started in the 50s. About 15, 16 years later, Richard Nixon closes the gold window. Central banks have been buying gold since about 06, since the housing market started unwinding. And no, we know, listen, central banks used to sell 500 metric tons of gold a year. Now they're buying 500 metric tons of gold a year.
You know, some of these controllers that run this world, they have a very almost religious experience with owning gold. They actually, I believe, it has certain properties of your soul. I mean, these guys, you know, they won't admit it to any shows that you're watching. But look at the Hollywood movies. Remember Pulp Fiction? Remember you opened the briefcase? What was in there? They didn't say it was in there, but what did it glow? It glowed gold, didn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, just like they want everything's the new gold too, right?
Everything's the new gold, which means it has to be compared to gold,
right? And I'm just telling you right now, I don't think we get out of this with a regular garden variety, because look at the last collapse. I mean, what did it now? It went from like 20,000 to 6, right? What was it 6,700? It went down to,
yep,
right? The banks had to get bailed out. Remember, the rules have changed now. There's no more bailout. It's bail in.
Yep.
It's bail in. And I don't care what anybody says, and Wall Street can pretend it's not happening. Central bankers don't overnight all of a sudden say we're wrong, because that's what Jay Powell said. We're just retiring transitory. Then he went out. He wasn't done. Hey, we're probably going to have to speed up taper because they know, hey, we can't get to rate hikes till taper's over. Of course, here's the problem. Taper should have been over a year ago. Right? We should already be. I don't know what it should be. My guess, if they had done it right, we probably could have been at 2 or 3% Fed's funds rate and been okay. Right?
Maybe.
But here would be the problem. Wall Street would probably be at 20,000.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
We could have been okay. Maybe. And Jason's right. Maybe. We maybe could have been okay. Now, the debts would have been, painful, right? All the interest on the debt and all of that. Listen, that's gone now. We can't be okay at 2 or 3% now. This is the mistake that's been made.
It has to be reset. That's what happened. They reset it. As far as I'm concerned, gold hit its all-time highs in 2011, and I bought into this company with gold, as far as I'm concerned, sluggish since then. We're 10 years, but even look at that little mini crash in 2020, still pushed gold to its all-time highs. When this thing goes, gold from 2,000 to 4,000 could happen in a blink. And I was talking to Joe, I was like, the only thing I was worried about when I joined up with Patriot is, what if it goes so fast that we can't even get any to sell to you? And all I'm going to do on the radio is like, well, we still have a radio show. You should have bought in 2021. That's what's going to happen.
Patriot Radio News Hour. 800-951-0592. Pick up those Saints. Final segment of the week coming up. 800-951-0592. I'm not in Phoenix, so I don't know how many Saints are left. We had 50 Saints, $2,075 at 800-951-0592.
Joe is in Jason world. I never know how many are left.
I don't know. I don't know. But there should be none. I'll tell you that right now. This is it's not even a hard call. It's so easy. And again, now you're starting to see it. You're now that the Fed allegedly, and I say allegedly, is going to take the punch bowl away. The whole thing crashes. And again, remember, as soon as interest rates get to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, who knows how high they're going to go. But as soon as they get that level above 5%, they stop buying houses immediately.
2%.
Well, I mean, investor, because listen, there's maintenance on houses. Stuff breaks. You got to replace it. There's property tax and all this stuff. Wait a minute. I can just buy treasuries and get 7, 8, 10%. I'm going to do that instead.
That's right. That's 2 to 3%, Joe. I'm telling you.
Right. I think you're right. I think you're right that, 2 or 3 stops the buying, and then anything over 5, they just dump it. They're going to dump it and go into there because it's easy. Why deal with any of that other? I got to get the landscaper out there, the pool guy, got to pay the property tax, the hot water bill. Oh, the tenant didn't pay. I got to go to court. Got to get him evicted. I got to repaint the house. Got to change the carpet. I got to do the floors. I'll just buy treasuries.
And that's why a lot of these multi-family units, these 24-plex apartment buildings are being built everywhere constantly because they know that's where they're going to put everybody when they can't afford a home.
There you go. 800-951-0592. And again, remember, just pointing it out, every crash bigger than the last because they're tools that they use. They just have a bigger tool, right? It's not a pickaxe, it's a shovel. Now it's a backhoe. I don't even know what they got to be.
You see those mega dump trucks they have.
Right. I mean, trucks that are the size of houses that they've got to use right now, and they've changed the rules. Right, and here's what the funny part: they changed the rules to make it appear like they were doing it for us. Nobody, they did the whole, hey, you're not going to know what's in the bill. Forget about reading it, because we didn't get to, they don't let us read it. You're not going to know what's in the bill until all of a sudden the bank's not open. And then you're going to be like, wait a minute, that's not what I thought was in the bill. Yeah, that's what's in the bill, right? What's in the bill is bail in. And bail in simply means the depositors are on the hook. That's just what it means.
Yeah, take one for the team. That's what they tell us, right, Joe? Yeah, take one for the team.
It's for the greater good that we take this money from your bank account.
We all got to chip in. Everyone's got to do their part, except for if you're like really massively wealthy. Yeah, we'll forget your name on the list.
Well, let's face it, the massively wealthy guys don't have their money in the bank.
Oh, that's right.
Listen, you can do that, or you know what? Listen, here you go. You want to call? You can call my son, right? You don't want to put it into gold and silver. You got enough gold and silver? Give it to him. At least he'll hide it in the right spots in the debt markets where you can capitulate here. 602-909-9048 or 800-951-0592. Pick up those St. Gaudens at $2,075.